buddy boy, the Game Awards 2025 happened last night, and Sonic fans are not happy. Hello everyone, I'm OCDsaster, and this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel, where everything we do here is Sonic related, so if that sounds like something your speed, consider subscribing and checking out some other videos after this one. I want to start this conversation off by saying the Game Awards has been a committee award show for a while now. It's just basically a giant, way to advertise upcoming games and get people to subscribe to, this year at least, Amazon Prime. And it's basically a giant marketing ploy. It's always kind of been this way with these kind of expos and award shows. And throughout the years, I became more and more distasteful of them because of this. And it just became more of, like I said, a marketing sort of thing. And I realized that it was basically committees that were voting for these things, not the actual voters. They collected, people online could vote, but it was up to a committee to actually make the nominations go through. And I just kind of got tired of it after a while. And I actually didn't watch the Game Awards for a good chunk of time and just waited till it wrapped up to see any important updates and reveals. This year was different for multiple reasons. I watched the Game Awards live this year because Sonic Racing Cross Worlds was nominated for both Family Game and Sports/Racing Game categories, but also because there were a lot of people hinting and teasing and speculating that the next AAA Sonic game was going to be revealed at this Game Awards because that's what they did with Sonic Frontiers a few years back. So I had multiple reasons to watch it this year, and I was hopeful. I was hopeful that at least Sonic Racing Cross Worlds would get one win, and that would be for the racing over Mario Kart World. And if we got a reveal for a AAA title, I was going to be extra happy, right? Now, last month, there already was some drama when they announced the nominees for the Game Awards, because for the video game adaptation for movies and TV, Sonic Movie 3 was not listed. Instead, they listed things like Until Dawn and Devil May Cry, and a few other, lesser titles, but Sonic Movie 3, out of all the ones on that list, in my opinion, and based off of Rotten Tomato scores, was the best reviewed and best, quality-wise. So the fact that it wasn't on there was crazy, that it was snubbed in that regard, but we were kind of okay with it. We as in Sonic fans were kind of okay with it because at least Sonic Racing Cross Worlds was getting nominated for a few other things. Now, I want to say that I'm a Sonic fan, but I'm not the type of Sonic fan to immediately trash on another video game or another IP. I'm not one person to just be like, because it's Sonic, it has to be the best thing ever. I can be critical of Sonic games and Sonic TV shows and movies and of the such, and I have been for a while now. You guys that have been frequent to this channel know that I speak with my whole chest. I'm able to critically think when it comes to Sonic, content. There's some other people that can't. There's, for both sides, there's people that automatically disregard something if it's Sonic, and there's some people that will just salivate at the mouth if it is Sonic and you can't critique it whatsoever. I am right on the nuanced middle approach. So this isn't really me just crying about the results of the Game Awards, but I do have some eyebrow-raising questions, and I kind of just wanted to talk about how disappointed I was that I sat down for 3 hours and it was really just a nothing burger of an award show, which I already knew was the case, but I had that little bit of copium and hopium, and it just deflated almost immediately. First, shout out to Clear Obscure 33, Expedition 33. It's a long title. I should have just said Expedition 33. I understand that that's a smaller game studio. I personally am not a fan of turn-based RPGs. However, I saw my brother playing it. I heard the music. I heard some of the story beats. I've seen how much pop that it got, and I think it is a pretty great task that you have these smaller, independent sort of game studios making games like this. So props to them, shout out to them. They swept the awards. They got almost everything they were nominated for. They were breaking records, and I think they actually deserved it. This was one that was like a clear winner, kind of like last year when it was Baldur's Gate that was the clear winner. So I think that is absolutely fine, and sometimes that's a case where the Game Awards does hit and does get things right. And I can be happy for them. These other things that I'm about to say, they're subjective. They are my opinion, and I'm not saying my opinion is the only right one. However, I like to think that I am critical, and I don't just, glaze one thing and just straight criticize another. I try to go in open-minded. But there were a lot of things with this Game Awards that I was scratching my head about. And I'm not going to go beat by beat for everything they announced, but I do want to first off say, it's very cringe. I am a millennial, and I've just found out the word millennial core, which kind of puts me in that millennial core bracket or category. But now I'm more hyper aware to what is cringe for a lot of the younger generation. And the Game Awards is no exception. A lot of the little bits and written dialogue and banter, a lot of it was just not hitting. If there were jokes, they weren't funny, and I just really think it was cringe. That's all I can really say. It was really boring and really cringe in between different segments. I don't think there were a lot of charismatic people. Either they were too under-charismatic or over-charismatic. When they announced the Street Fighter and brought all the actors out, one of the actors just kept wooing the entire time and trying to hype up the crowd, but the crowd wasn't budging, but he kept doing it, and it's just weird disconnects here and there. There were some genuine speeches given, but for the most part, just as a whole, a lot of it was just really tone deaf and cringe, and just very corporatized and very advertiser safe and friendly. I'm not saying we need to have the most obscene jokes and edgy humor or anything like that, but at least push boundaries a little bit. The most fun I had was, ironically, when Miss Piggy was doing the song and they were kind of taking jabs and breaking the fourth wall about the Game Awards. But you can't just get credit for doing that. You actually have to work on it and improve it. So I don't know. I think Jeff Keighley does an okay job hosting these things, but I do wish that they would kind of pivot to a new direction. I think a lot of these corporates and companies, they need to start looking at Gen Z to start writing some material and start looking at the beats and stuff, because Gen Z's now at that age where they're becoming adults and in the workforce, and I think they have a nice sense of humor. They're right on that edge. Now, some of it is also cringe. I think every generation has its cringe moments, and saying the word cringe is cringe itself, but just add some extra flavor just overall to the presentation, because it was such a bore and slog to sit through things. But I also think it doesn't help that a lot of the games that they announced and revealed, am I tripping, or did almost all of them look the same? There were a few ones that stuck out due to either a narrative beat or the one that was stop motion platforming. That was cool, that was unique. But I just kept seeing either you're in space, either it's fantasy or dark, bloody, gory fantasy, or you were in space and it had a fantasy element to it. Those were the four big settings, and then every now and then you would get a style that was in Japanese or in Japan, I should say, and was a Souls-like game. But most of it was looter shooter, Souls-like game, or just your derivative form of what we've been seeing for a while now. And it all kind of blended together, and I was sitting there and I was like, have I seen this before? I swear I've seen this before. And I am all about creativity and people trying to stretch boundaries and do stuff that's new, but I feel like we're hitting that trend again. We're beating it. Before it was Battle Royale, and before that it was another thing, and I think we're reaching another trend with these settings. I'm tired of seeing space. I'm tired of seeing just fantasy. We need more, right? It needs to be more diverse, and a lot of these games are kind of doing the same thing, and then it's futuristic, cyberpunk looking places. It's cool for a little bit, but then after a while it just gets overstuffed, overfed, and overused. And like I said before, there's trends. So it was the Battle Royale, then it was open world, now we're in this weird middle ground, and it's very interesting to see when they just keep showing trailers back to back to back to back, and all of them look derivative of each other. They all kind of have a Diablo look to it, or they look like they're from Dead Space, and I don't know. I might just be really jaded at this point. It might just be old man yells at clouds, but to me, none of that really captured anything for me. like I said, there were these tiny little bits of hope in between games, and some were fantasy games or space games that had enough of an edge to differentiate it from a lot of the other stuff we were seeing, but it's getting really tiring. And like, they revealed the one studio that was secretly working on a multiplayer game that's coming out like next month, and it's essentially like Valorant meets Paladins, and it's from the people that did Apex, and it's like, are hero shooters really even that big anymore? I think like the last big one is like Marvel Rivals, unless Arc Raiders is a hero shooter. I'm not quite sure, but it's like we're kind of getting stuck in the same wheels again, and it didn't look that interesting, because guess what? It was fantasy based. It was in a fantasy setting, but you had like sci-fi guns. Whoa, crazy. I don't know. It's the trend we're in right now, and I'm just too aware to it, I think, and I just want to get out of the Matrix if we're gonna do an analogy like that. So that was kind of like an overarching thing, but I want to like narrow it down. The reason I was watching the award show was I wanted to see Sonic Racing Cross Worlds win a category, and I wanted to see, you know, a potential AAA Sonic teaser at least. And I got neither of those things. Mario Kart World won for the category of racing game, and I believe Donkey Kong won the best family game. And I definitely think this is part of the committee and just wanting to appease Nintendo and get Nintendo money, because this is all legit and speculative, but like I really do think so, because when you look at it, especially for the racing one, it's just Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is continuing to add content and continuing to add to the game. Mario Kart World, everyone got excited on the first week it released, and no one talks about it except the hardcore Mario Nintendo fans, right? And it's one of those things where a lot of people were like saying, well, at least it got nominated. This is the first time like we actually got to see them go head to head, and like Sonic actually deserve it. But I think Sonic actually deserved to win it. And if it can't win it here, when even IGN gave it a higher rating than Mario Kart World, it's cooked. It's whenever it's competing against Mario or another Nintendo IP, it's just going to lose. And I think that's really sad, because Sonic really deserves it. I really think that Sega and Sonic Team have turned Sonic around. I really think we're in a new like renaissance era of Sonic. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it. We still have to see the future games, but this last batch of Sonic content and the Sonic movie and the animations that they're releasing on YouTube and the marketing, they're really starting to care again and bring life back into a, you know, dead franchise. It wasn't dead, but it was losing a lot of its momentum and steam compared to Mario. And now I really do think from a content and quality perspective, it's reversed now. I think that Sonic is now doing the better job in gaining momentum, and the Mario games are losing momentum. And I'm not like oh, I love Sonic, therefore I hate Mario. I enjoy Mario games. I have tons of hours in Mario Kart World. And I just think that Nintendo is realizing that they have not a monopoly, but they can kind of get away with just the bare minimum, because Nintendo fans will just run over and purchase whatever game they put out. And it's the same with Sonic fans, but it's just the Nintendo fans, there's a larger number than the Sonic fans. And this is, I think, an issue overall with consumerism and gaming, is you speak with your wallets. And if you keep paying $70, $80 for a game that's not worth that, or you know that they phoned it in and they were just doing the bare minimum, then they're going to learn to just keep doing that. Look at Pokemon, for goodness sakes. Like, Game Freak can't put out a good Pokemon game. They haven't in a while, because they know that they don't have to, and the consumers will keep paying because of the cult mentality, because of the FOMO and all of that. It's just kind of the culture that's been developed, and it's just unfortunate, because like I said, and I'm repeating myself now, I do believe Sonic actually deserved a win for the best racing game over Mario Kart World. I have played Mario Kart World extensively, I played Sonic Racing Cross Worlds extensively, and I played Kirby Air Riders. And although I am a Sonic channel, although I do focus on Sonic content here on the channel, I will be truthful in my opinions, and if I thought Mario Kart World was genuinely better than Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, I would say that. But I can't, because I just have more fun playing Sonic, and I have more things to do, you know, not just recording for videos and stuff. I can do more with Sonic Racing Cross Worlds than I can with Mario Kart. And so it is the better game, and I do think it deserved the win. So I am disappointed that it didn't. And then the not revealing a AAA title, that was all speculative. That was all just kind of like teased, but not really like confirmed. So I can't be too mad about that. It is a little bit disappointing, but I would rather wait for something to be finalized and finished before releasing and getting me hyped up and then having to wait years until it releases. So that means they're taking their time, which I think is the silver lining in all of this. Or they're just going to wait for a Sega presentation to drop it, or a Sony presentation, or whatever these mini presentations that happen now. So to sum everything up, the Game Awards are stupid. They are cringe. They are dated. They are basically just a way to sell you stuff and market upcoming games. It is committee based, although players can vote or choose what they want. It's up to the committee, and depending on how big the publisher is and how much pool they have, that will determine most of the winners. Sometimes they get it right in the sense of like the Game Awards winner for best game, which would be Expedition 33. But a lot of the times, I really think that they're just kind of going through the motions. Sonic Movie 3 being snubbed is crazy. That should have been in the category and should have won. And then at least the racing portion, the racing category, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds should have won. That's just kind of how I see it. And it's crazy because when they announced Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, when they listed it out at the Game Awards, you could hear the uproar, you could hear the cheers, and everyone was like applauding louder. And then Mario Kart won, and you could hear a pin drop because everyone's just like, what? Everyone was so sure. So yeah, it's at the end of the day not a thing in the world. It's not the biggest thing out there. It's not the end of the world. It's actually the dumbest thing in the world. But I just wanted to kind of give my overall thoughts on this whole thing, and I do feel like I have wasted 3 hours of my life last night watching it for too much hope. And I think I am now officially done with watching the Game Awards. Not just because of the Sonic stuff, but just because I would rather be doing anything else. I would rather be sleeping, honestly, getting more Z's in, going and playing video games with friends, than sitting around and just watching trailers and stuff like that. And then just waiting until the next day to see what dropped. If it's a AAA Sonic game, then great. I can watch it the next day and talk about it and talk to it. So that's my whole opinion. I want to know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. Did you like the Game Awards? Did you think this was the best one? Did you think it was the worst one? What do you think about Sonic Movie 3 being snubbed? What do you think about Sonic Racing Cross Worlds being snubbed? Do you agree with the decisions of the Game Awards? Do you not? I would love to hear all your thoughts and discussions down below. With that being said, I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya!